Welcome back to another video, guys. Today is Sunday, the last day of the combine. So DBs and safeties ran today. I put out a video, I think 2 days ago, just a kind of a reaction video to the wide receivers running absurd times, like Olave running the 4.26. The times in general, at least the unofficial times, have been all over the place in for every single position group. I have fallen into the trap of like freaking out a little bit over the unofficial times just because they've changed so much from unofficial to official. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. So they need to get that fixed before next year, but this video is just going to be a combine overview, kind of. I'm going to go through the results. The best place that I found, honestly, is just the NFL website. They have most of the official times uploaded. I don't think the DBs, so the DBs in general, they don't have the 3-cone and shuttle in yet. I think that they already finished it though, so that might be uploaded by the end of this video, so we can talk about that. But first, just general thoughts about the combine as a whole, and then a few specific Charger takes. So, first one that I noticed. My bad. What the fuck? My YouTube setup is just my iPhone sitting on some books in front of me. So I guess I knocked it down. Hopefully it's still recording. Let me check. Yep. There's that high quality, like 30 subscriber YouTube video right there. But first thing I noticed is the drop off at corner. Trent Mcduffie ran, I want to say 4.44. Outside of the big five guys, Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Trent McDuffie, Kairi Alam, and why am I blanking? Andrew Booth Jr. I do not feel confident about any of the other guys starting day one. Roger Mccreery, I still like. Most likely a slot only guy. Especially at his size, he did not test that well. I just don't think he has the frame or athleticism to hold up on the outside in the NFL. Kyler Gordon didn't test that great. He still has to do the 3-cone shuttle. Hopefully he does great in those, because for what he put on tape, he was aggressive, he was good, he was okay. In terms of technique, feel for the game, kind of. Okay breaks, okay at the catch point, but you can't be okay at those things in the NFL without being an absolute freak athlete. And sometimes even the freak athletes who aren't great at those things still aren't good. You need to be like above average at those things. And I really think that there's a big drop off. So for the Chargers specifically, at 17, I think I would be okay taking any of the top 5 corners. I would be okay. I'll be thrilled with Sauce or Stingley. Booth, I would be okay with. McDuffie, I would be okay with. Elam, it might be a little bit high. I would still be okay with it, though. Outside of those 5 guys, though, I don't want any of the other guys in the first round. Similarly, outside of the top 3 guys for the wide receiver class, none of the wide receivers I think are worth taking at pick 17. So if you're a fan of a different team, I guess it kind of depends on your wide receiver situation. But for the Chargers specifically, at pick 17, outside of Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Jamison Williams, Garrett Wilson had a very good combine, I think. He's already a top 15 player on nearly every single big board, but I think he ran a 4.37 or 4.38, being faster than Olave, being a plus athlete, answering the questions about long speed. He is just as dynamic as it comes. And I think truly complete package. And then Drake London, Jameson Williams just have freaky traits to hang their hat on in the NFL. But outside of those top three guys, none of the wide receivers are worth taking at 17. No, not Chris Olave. No, not Treylon Burks. I know some other Chargers YouTubers are either tweeting or making videos pounding the table for Chris Olave or Treylon Burks as if they're risers after this combine. That is absolutely not the case. So Treylon Burks did not have a good combine. I am way lower on Treylon Burks, I guess, than everybody else because I think I want to name names, but some of the Chargers YouTubers are saying that Treylon Burks went into the combine as consensus wide receiver 1. I did not see that. He is for sure not my wide receiver 1, but especially after the combine. He is no riser. If anything, he's most definitely a faller. He ran a 4.55 officially. Some people were thinking like DK Metcalf size, DK Metcalf athleticism. He's going to run in the 4.3s. He's going to fall into that tier of like one of the only wide receivers or players to be over 225 pounds but run sub 4.4. That was not even remotely close. Everybody knew that his 3-cone and shuttle, if he even did it, wasn't going to be great. He didn't have a great vertical or broad, I think. He's just not a spectacular athlete. He's a good athlete, especially for his size. He's still okay, but definitely no freak of nature and doesn't have the route running ability or I guess technique or even like spectacular contested catch ability that it would take to overcome his lackluster athleticism. So still probably a top. He just kind of fell down a tier for me. Definitely in the same tier as Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore for me now, and Olave. So basically outside of the top three guys, no wide receivers worth taking at pick 17. If we trade back to the tail end of the first round, and if we don't re-sign Mike Williams, which it sounds like we're going to, then we could talk about one of those other guys. But if not, it's a no for me. Also, I don't want a starting right tackle outside of the top three guys. So this didn't really change that much after, during the combine, but my feeling about it did just solidify. I don't want a Trevor Penning or Bernard Raymond being our starting right tackle next year. We are in a sort of win now, a very big year. I would much rather just go out and sign a Morgan Moses, one of the other, I want to say 3 or 4 average, that's all we need for the right tackle position for the next 1 to 3 years is just an average, consistent player. I don't really even care how old they are. Morgan Moses doesn't have an injury history, but I would much rather take that baseline average play from a player like that than have to take Trevor Penning or Bernard Raymond at 17, or really any player outside of the top three tackles, any of the top three tackles, I would feel good about day one being our starting right tackle. But even if we got Penning or Raymond in the first or even second round, which we wouldn't be able to do, but even if we did do that, I wouldn't feel confident with them starting day one. That being said, I do think that the overall depth of the O-line class is a strength. I guess compared to other years, it's kind of similar, but for the Chargers specifically, I think that we can benefit with some, if we trade around a little bit, possibly some day 2 picks, but definitely some day 3 picks. I think that we can get quality depth. And once we go through all of these results, I'll point out some names who tested well. Kenyon Green actually didn't test as well as I thought. But in terms of depth for the O-line class, which is something that the Chargers need going into next year, yes, we can address it somewhat in free agency, like right guard, right tackle starting positions, but developmental guys, I think that there's some potential later in the draft to get quality depth. And then I think this news came out today. News, possibly just rumors. But if Uchenna does want 10 to 12 million or more than that per year, we need to let him walk. Uchenna is a very average edge player, honestly, average to below average. He just became an average to possibly slightly above average player, but historically over his career, we can't pay him for the last half of this season where he played pretty well. You need to look at the whole picture. Since he was drafted, he has not been that productive, and paying him 10 to 12 mil per year or more, I think it wouldn't be throwing money away, but I think that we can spend that money in much better places. And if we did let him walk, yes, I would still want to address edge with one or two guys in free agency, but I think the biggest strength of this class, I would need to think about that more, saying the biggest strength, but one of the biggest strengths of this class is the edge. There's a lot of guys, probably more than 6, possibly like 8 guys on day 1 and day 2. A lot of guys who are going to be around the Chargers picks, who I think I would feel comfortable being a starting edge next year. This is a very strong, very deep edge class. In terms of specifically who I would be interested in, Trayvon Walker had one of the freakiest combines I've seen. His testing numbers, obviously the top, I guess George Karlaftis is a little tier down. But Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, they won't be there at pick 17. But once we go through all these, I'll point out the names, but I would trust in Staley and Telesco to take an edge on day 1 or day 2 that fit our scheme, but we're going to have our pick of the litter. And I think that that's one of the only positions where if we went into the draft with a need, I would feel comfortable going into it knowing that we could address it well. Normally, you address needs in free agency and then use draft for value and talent in the draft, which I still think we should do, and that's the best thing to do. But if we had to go into the draft needing a position, I would be okay if it was edge. And then, yeah, the front 7 guys, I think there's just a lot of starters on the D tackle, edge, and linebackers. On day yeah, days 1 and 2, so like rounds 1 through 3, there's a lot of quality players who I would feel good about starting. Day 1, there's a lot of different types of players. There's a lot of different scheme fits, a lot of different personalities, builds that could fit different defenses. But I think that the front seven um, is a strength of this class, and that's why I'm most interested in trading, because front seven, that's a lot of what the Chargers need. So if we can maximize our picks in that range, I think that there's just a lot of starters available and ready to be picked within the first 3 rounds. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on, might talk about it more, but Jordan Davis. You guys have probably already seen some of the videos. Like the first video that I made this year was about Jordan Davis and why he shouldn't go in the first round. He's going to go in the first round. I'm really, really torn about pick 17 in Jordan Davis. I still don't think I like pick 17 in Jordan Davis. Even if he was there, he might go earlier than 17. But if we pick him at 17, that would mean that we didn't address D-tackle in free agency, and we went in with a massive need. That would mean that we are giving a very nice contract to an interior defensive lineman, which is a position of low value. And that would mean that we aren't drafting some of these other guys who I think would give us cheaper contracts at valuable positions and move the needle more for our team. So there's value in looking at it from the drafting Jordan Davis perspective at 17, but there's also value at looking at the rest of the board and saying, okay, we drafted Jordan Davis, but this is who we didn't draft. Like, sort of just comparing them side by side. We drafted Jordan Davis, we didn't draft Trayvon Walker. We drafted Jordan Davis, we didn't draft Trent McDuffie, or say Jameson Williams or Garrett Wilson's on the board. Yes, it depends on where we go in free agency, and I might come around to, if we trade back and Jordan Davis is there, I'll be okay with it, just because he did have an absolutely absurd combine. Combine shouldn't change my mind that much, but in this case, he came in, he looked a little bit slimmer, he was 340. I think he looked more like 350 to 360 on tape, but he came in at 340. He flew. He was explosive. He said that he's been working on his pass rush moves, so just showing that he's aware of his weaknesses and addressing them. Sometime in the NFL, with NFL coaching, addressing his pass rush moves, his toolbox. I think he could develop into a pretty good player. That being said, let's get into these testing numbers. So quarterback, we're probably not really going to go over. I'll fly through the 40-yard dash times. Really, only person born Desmond Ridder. He ran a 4.52. Wasn't a huge runner in college, but in terms of read option, it shows that he is a legitimate threat to actually run the ball, at least. Yeah, none of these other guys, like Kenny Pickett, ran for 7.3, but that was expected. Running backs, I'll fly through like the 40 times, but also don't really care. Kenny Walker, K-Walk, 4.38. That's a very, very good time for him. Breece Hall as well, 4.39. Don't get me wrong, still don't want to take a running back in the first 5 rounds of the draft. But people who do want a running back or need one, I think those guys are going to be very good day one in the NFL. James Cook, 4.42. Tyler Beatty, 4.45. Jerome Ford, 4.46. Ty Davis Price, LSU, 4.48. Brian Robinson, 4.53. Dameon Pierce, almost 4.6. I was expecting a little bit better out of him. But now I'm going to go through like all of the events. For wide receivers, this group flew. Guys I want to highlight, Calvin Austin. I mean, as we go through the rest of this, he just showed how explosive he was. I'm going to try and keep this video under 40 minutes for sure, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about every single guy. You guys can obviously just pause the video if you want to look at these lists. Bo Melton, 4.34. That's pretty quick. He's a guy who's going to be available day 3. Christian Watson, dude, tested extremely well. I already went back and rewatched some of his tape. I mean, not a need for the Chargers, but whatever team does get him, probably on day 2, some guys like him at the tail end of round 1. But I think whoever gets him day 2 is going to get a quality wide receiver too. Extremely athletic. And honestly has a pretty good feel for the game as well. Like Alec Pierce, he ran a 4.41. But just the difference in watching their tape, how they run routes, how physical they are, there's a pretty big difference, I think, between Christian Watson and Alec Pierce. Garrett Wilson, man, 4.38. Even if we do re-sign Mike Williams, if Garrett Wilson is there at 17, I would have a really hard time not taking him. He's just so explosive. And he ran a 4.38. Like, that's not, he's not a speedster, but he was my top 3 wide receiver, nearly everybody's, for sure top 3 receiver at least, coming into the combine. And we all knew that he wasn't a speedster. Like, none of us really had questions about it, but this answered whatever questions there were about his speed. Chris Olave, a little bit of a faller ironically, after he ran a 4.26. He was a riser for about an hour or 2, and now he's a little bit of a faller after running a 4.39, which is still a good speed, but just not a flyer like some of these higher guys like Calvin Austin or a Jameson Williams type. Sky Moore, also a riser, 4.41. That is a very good time for him. You guys can go back and watch my wide receiver breakdown video for a little bit more input on, or my top 10 wide receivers for a little bit more input on these guys. Sky Moore, I want to say, was my wide receiver 7. But he's definitely in the tier with Treylon Burks and Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, 4.43. Out of like high 4.3s for him, but there's not a huge difference. I try not put too much stock into these testing numbers. Khalil Shakir, 4.43 was a really good time for him. George Pickens being sub 4.5 was huge. Treylon Burks, 4.55. That was a joke that people were saying he was going to get like sub 4.4, even like close to 4.3. David Bell, 4.65. I don't think he's going to ever fall outside of my top 10 wide receivers just because I love his tape. And he just has such a good feel for the position. Such good hands, such good route running, pretty good after the catch. I just think I don't have that many questions about him. I knew he wasn't going to be a plus athlete. I wanted closer to a 4.5 out of him because 4.65 is struggling a little bit in the NFL, but for a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, if a guy goes down and you need a consistent, reliable target, he doesn't have much upside, but consistent, reliable, I think that could be David Bell. And then bench, we'll just glance at, yeah, only 3 guys. I don't know why Justin Ross would really even do it. I also don't know why Justin Ross didn't run the 40, unless I'm high. Yeah, I thought Justin Ross came into the combine saying he wanted to answer questions about his straight line speed, and then he didn't run. Vertical, Alec Pierce did have 40 plus that's pretty insane. Calvin Austin, at his height too, I guess height doesn't really matter for vertical, but 39-inch vertical, that is explosive. Christian Watson, 38.5, insane. Jahan Dotson, 36, that's pretty good. Garrett Wilson, 36, that's pretty good. Most of these other guys I wasn't really surprised about, other than maybe George Pickens. I was expecting for sure higher out of George Pickens. Like, George Pickens and David Bell have the same vertical. That's kind of crazy. I just don't know if he's 100% or what. Chris Olave at 32. Wasn't expecting a huge vertical, but that does kind of just start to show the differences between him and Garrett Wilson. Broad jump, 11.4, 11.3. That's a massive fucking broad jump. Out of, like, these 2 guys definitely stood out as just the best all around explosive athletes at the combine. At the combine in general, there's a handful of other guys, but for the wide receiver position, these 2 guys stood out. George Pickens, 10.5, not bad, but the same broad as Sky Moore. I say that like Sky Moore didn't impress at the combine. Sky Moore is definitely a riser. He answered a lot of questions about his athleticism. Garrett Wilson, 10.3, that's okay. But Treylon Burks, 10.2. Jahan Dotson, 10.1. David Bell, 9.10. 3-cone. So if you guys don't know, vertical and broad are similar in terms of explosion from a standstill, kind of. Broad is, I think, a little bit more important for, like, linemen and possibly linebackers, kind of. People on the defense in general. Vertical is still important, especially for receivers, just because that does play a role in jump balls to an extent. 3-cone is sort of your ability to bend. This one's really important for edge rushers. Really, really important for edge rushers. Just because it doesn't show off straight line speed at all. If you guys watch what it literally is just your ability to turn quickly and bend around the corner. So here, Calvin Austin, 6.665 is a very, very good number. If you're below 7 seconds for this, that's basically just the benchmark for a elite time. Bo Melton, again, under 7 seconds. Bo Melton, probably going to be there day 3. Interesting guy to look at. Sky Moore, that's a pretty good time. aka not a bad time. But David Bell, 7.14. Treylon Burks, 728. 20-yard shuttle. This is more important for receivers. This one is pretty important for all positions, but especially receivers and DBs, just because this is your how fast can you start, how fast can you stop, how fast can you start again. Just like, once again, if you guys just watch what it is, it's literally explode out of a stance, come to a stop, touch the line, explode out of a stance again, which is a lot of what route running and, like, if you're running a curl or something, or say I don't know, stop and go. If you need to run 10 yards, sink your hips, just stop as fast as you can. And then if you're running a go or even, I don't know, an out or an in from there, how fast can you start again? So I want to say DK Metcalf didn't do great in this, even though he had a great 40 time. It kind of just shows you can be great in a straight line, but in terms of route running, finesse, explosion out of breaks, and route running, this one is very important. Also for DBs, you want to be, I think below 4 seconds is a very elite time for this. So Calvin Austin got close. Sky Moore, Khalil Shakir, a lot of good route runners at the top. Garrett Wilson, 4.36. It's an okay time. I was expecting a little bit more out of him, but he just moves so differently than everybody else. I'll run through the tight ends 40 times. I'm not super interested in the Chargers taking a tight end. Chig Okongwo out of Maryland, 4.52. It's a really good time for a tight end. Jelani Woods, Virginia, 4.61. Speed for tight ends, honestly, is really important, just because they run so many crossing routes where being able to shake guys at the top of your route is important, but also, like, you don't really have to get off press. If you're just running a drag across the entire field and you can be faster than the linebacker, that's oftentimes all it takes. So speed is pretty important here. Not many tight ends ran the 40 though, so not much to digest here. I'm trying to remember who they said was going to be a huge riser, or who was going to like blow up the combine for the tight end position. I don't really remember who. But moving on to the O-line, I'll go through a couple of these. Kellen Diesch, I've mocked a lot to the Chargers. I want to say, here, just real quick, I want to see what his arm length was, because I want to say he came in with under 33-inch arms. Yeah, 32 1/4. That's 6'7" though. So I'm not, like, we took Rashawn Slater last year. He had 33-inch arms, and people were like, he's right on that threshold. He's only 6'3", 6'4", 33-inch arms. Like, what if we don't think he can survive a tackle on the outside in the NFL? And obviously, Pro Bowler, very, very good left tackle as a rookie. So I'm not going to sit here and pound the table about arm length, but it is a factor, and it is something to consider. I won't say 33 inches is like my cutoff, because like even if they don't survive a tackle, most of the time you can still kick them inside to guard, but it is still something to consider. When in doubt, you'd rather have the guy with slightly longer arms if everything else is tied. Trevor Penning, 4.89, that's a really good time for him. Abraham Lucas is a pretty experienced guy, 4.92. Ike Kwanu, 4.93, that's a really good time. Dylan Parham, Charles Cross, Tyler Smith, my boy Ed Ingram, LSU baby. Cole Strange, Bernard Raymond, 505, Austin Deculus. Austin Deculus actually comes to the pool where I live a lot. I think his girlfriend lives here. Nick Petit-Frere, 514. Zion Johnson, 518. Luke Fortner, 521. Chasen Hines. Kenyon Green, 524. Marquise Hayes, 5'3", Darren Kennard, 5'3", Max Mitchell, 5'3". There's just a lot of guys on this list who will probably survive, not survive. Hopefully all these guys survive until day 3. But who don't get drafted until day 3. There's a lot of guys on the O-line who I would be very interested in terms of, 1, depth, 2, by the time that Matt Filer's contract is over, or if we just sign a 1-year right guard, who maybe just after 1 year of development would be a suitable replacement for one of our guards. We can glance at bench. I think Zion Johnson had the most reps, 32. That's pretty good. Bernard Raymond also came in with under 33-inch arms. He's a good athlete, but like I said before, outside of the top 3 guys, I wouldn't feel comfortable with even Bernard Raymond or Trevor Penning starting day 1 at right tackle for us. If they're there like round 2, or even if they're there round 1 and we don't have a right tackle for some reason and we trade back and get them, I guess that's kind of what we would have to do in that situation, but I wouldn't be happy. Luke Godeki, 26 reps. Daniel Falele, dude, Daniel Falele is a mountain of a man. 24 reps. Vertical. So funny saying O-line verts. Kellen Diesch, 32.5. Zion Johnson, 32. Bernard Raymond, 30.5. I'm expecting a little bit higher out of Raymond. Icky, 29. Deculus, 28.5. Let's go. Trevor Penning, 28. Kenyon Green, 26. Charles Cross, 26. A lot of O-linemen did the vertical. I'm already almost at 40 minutes. I gotta start moving through these. I'm just gonna highlight. Honestly, if you guys don't want to keep watching, stop watching. If you guys want to watch until the end of the video, watch until the end of the video. Who gives a fuck how long the video ends up being? I'm gonna cover what I can. Broad jump, pretty important for offensive linemen. Obviously, it's going to be lower than other positions, but still important. Bernard Raymond, 9'9", pretty good. Zion Johnson, 9'4". Charles Cross, 9'4". Trevor Penning. Kellen Diesch. Icky at 9. Max Mitchell, 8'10". Kenyon Green at 8'6". Kenyon Green is a big guy, but he's not that great of an athlete. I thought that he was going to be at least slightly better than this, just from his tape. But after this, I do think that he's probably a pure guard. I was tempted to, whatever team did end up drafting him, I kind of want them to test him out at tackle, just from his tape. But after this, I don't know if he has the athleticism to make it out there. 3. Actually, let's just do the shuttle. 3 cones. Not super important for offensive tackles. Abraham Lucas had the top time. Zion Johnson. Zion Johnson's going to be a very good guard day 1 in the NFL. Bernard Raymond, 449. So Bernard Raymond overall still testing out as a plus athlete. Trevor Penning testing out as a pretty average athlete. Same with Charles Cross and Ike Ekwonu, which is interesting, I think. I wish Evan Neal would have done some of these drills at the combine. That would have made the testing numbers, he would have skewed everything probably. Now getting into the DNs, I'm just going to highlight some names, but Trayvon Walker, 451. He's, I want to say 6'5", 270. Has, actually, I am just going to click on him because his frame in general is absurd. 6'5", 272, 35.5-inch arms. Hopefully you guys probably could hear that. 35.5-inch arms. Almost 11-inch hands. Just look at these numbers. 4.51 40-yard dash. Over 10-foot broad. Sub 7 3-cone. And then 20-yard short shuttle 4.32. This number slightly more important for edge players. Vertical 35.5, not bad by any means. But look at these other numbers. This dude is built in a fucking lab to play edge. Like, hands huge, doesn't hurt. But 35.5-inch arms at 272 pounds, 6'5", runs a 4.51. I gotta watch, like, in depth this dude's tape because here, let me, I don't know if I want to just pull up my big board, but I want to see how old this guy is, because if he's under 22 and we don't sign at the end, he might be one of my favorite picks if, like, George Karlaftis is gone. Honestly, he might be close to George Karlaftis. This dude, he's just built in a lab to fucking play edge. It's absurd. Definitely a first round talent. Boye Mafe, 4.3 or 4.53. I'm just going to highlight the guys that I would be talking, like I was talking about before, within the first 2 to 3 rounds who I think should be there and I think could be day one starters. Boye Mafe, round 2, I think he could start. Nick Benito, more of a pure pass rusher, not great in run defense, but day 2, day 3 guy. David Ajabo honestly had a slightly disappointing combine just because he was painted out to be this, like, insanely toolsy speed rusher. We all knew he wasn't great in run defense, but we're kind of I say we, like, I'm part of the draft community or combine NFL draft community, yeah. I was hoping for better overall numbers out of David Ajabo. I don't think I would be happy with him at 17 anymore. If we traded back, yes, but since his calling card was his raw athleticism and upside and what he could be going into the combine and just not putting out great numbers, kind of leaves it lowers his ceiling a little bit, just because, yes, he hasn't developed a whole lot, but we thought, like, if this is his floor, we thought that he had raised it a little bit since getting to college. I guess he improved a lot. He broke out. He also really only played this previous year, but we thought that I need to stop saying we. I thought that his ceiling was one of the highest just because he did look like a pretty twitched up, freaky athlete, but his frame and not testing like a super freaky athlete does lower his ceiling a little bit because the intrigue with him was just what he could be. Kayvon Thibodeau, 4.58, that's a really good time for him. Jermaine Johnson, that's a good time, 4.58. Majay Sanders. This group of like 7 guys right here, all day 1, day 2 guys. Most of who I would be okay with drafting day 1 or day 2. And other than Nick Benito, I would feel good with being probably our starting edge player. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, top 3 pick. Kingsley Enagbare, I don't know which one it is. 4.87, not a great time. Logan Hall, sort of a tweener. So 4.88, not horrible, just because he's a pretty big dude. Did what's his face not run the 40? Who's the Penn State guy? Arnold Ebiketie. I guess he just didn't run the 40. Kayvon Thibodeau, 27 reps. That's pretty good. D'Angelo Malone, Arnold Ebiketie, 21 reps. George Karlaftis. Vertical. Arnold Ebiketie, 38. That's pretty good. Boye Mafe, George Karlaftis. Drake Jackson is a guy that I like. Kingsley again, Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker. Like, this edge class, in terms of like the Joey Bosa, the Myles Garrett, the Chase Young, there's not really one. A slight step down, there's Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau. But then another very, very slight small down, there's a pretty big group of guys where I think you could get great value near the Chargers pick in the 1st or 2nd round, possibly even the 3rd. Rod, Arnold Ebiketie, 10.8, that's pretty good. Drake Jackson, I don't remember if he ran the 40, but Drake Jackson looked very explosive, like very, very explosive on tape. And it did show up at the combine as well. Jermaine Johnson, 10.5, good numbers. Trayvon Walker, 10.3, dude's a freak. There's a lot of pretty good broad jump numbers out of these guys. I thought Aiden Hutchinson was going to test a little bit better as we look at the 3-cone. He did test insanely well in the 3-cone. This is the most important one for edge players as well. So Aiden Hutchinson 1. Trayvon Walker, not far behind though. Sub 7 seconds. This shows bend. Trayvon Walker has it. He might become one of my guys going into the draft. Nick Benito, probably going to be a pretty quality pass rusher. Day 1. Logan Hall, 4.25 or 7.25. Not horrible, honestly. He's a pretty big dude too. Short shuttle. So the actual movement, agility, skill drills, Aiden Hutchinson did kind of smoke everybody. But once again, Trayvon Walker, not too far behind. George Karlaftis, Logan Hall, Majay Sanders. This edge class, man, crazy. And then we'll get in to Jordan Davis. There is a group of, so like Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis, Perion Winfrey, Travis Jones, Marvin Leal. Who else am I missing? Logan Hall can kind of play D-tackle, but there's a strength at D-line in this class, I think. Jordan Davis, man. 6'6", 340. Do they measure his arms? Dude, let's just take a second, guys. Take a second and just look at these numbers. Jordan Davis, 6'6", 340. Shut the fuck up, video. 34-inch arms, almost 11-inch hands. 4.78 40-yard dash time. 32-inch vert, 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. That is absurd for a man this size. He didn't do the 3-cone 20-yard or the short shuttle, but this dude is so fucking explosive. I never thought that I would be a guy to hype up Jordan Davis, but he did have a crazy combine. 4.78. 4.78 at 341 pounds. A broad jump of 10 feet 3 inches. I'm a relatively fit or athletic dude, like compared to the average human being. Obviously, not for college football or the NFL, but as like a freshman in high school, I think I ran a 4.9 or 5 flat time, and I know like I still probably have close, probably not anymore. Like a year or two ago, I still had at least a 32-inch vert, but I don't think I could have broad jumped 10 feet 3 inches. And I'm also like 6'2", 175. This dude is, I'm blanking out on math right now. 175. Why do I feel retarded? That'd be 350. Yeah. So he's almost exactly double my weight. Double my weight. But only add 4 inches. And he's running faster than me and has the same vertical jump. That is crazy. He is also just a better athlete than me. But Jordan Davis has, if he can learn some pass rush moves, some good pass rush moves, build up his stamina, it looks like he already did lose a little bit of weight. He's explosive as hell, and I'll be tempted to try and get him down to like 330 if he did develop some pass rush moves, just because I think he could still hold up to double teams at that weight, and I think he could be a 3-down D tackle. That he would have such a high ceiling if that was the case. Bench for D tackle, not many guys did it, surprisingly. Otito had 29 reps. Vert, I mean, this does kind of just paint a picture. Jordan Davis, 32-inch vertical, compared to DeMarvin Leal, who was probably a top 10 player headed into this previous college football season, and he was just painted as like an elite 3-tech / edge player, sort of that tweener, but just had elite athletic upside. He's way smaller than Jordan Davis, and Jordan Davis out-jumped him by 5 inches. My boy Neil Farrell, 21.5-inch vert, not representing LSU well there. Dude, I don't even know why you do the vertical jump if you knew that you were going to barely jump higher than 20 inches. Brother. Broad jump. Bro, look at this. There's almost a foot difference, and Jordan Davis is bigger than nearly all of these guys. Broad jump is so important for D tackles too, because it's literally, you're either 3 or 4 point stance, just hands in the dirt, and you're just exploding out. Get off is like the most important thing about being a defensive lineman, whether that's edge or D tackle. And it's just how much power can you create from a standstill. Jordan Davis is on a different planet than these other guys. And Devontae Wyatt, so quick. Explosive as hell in his own right. 9'3". Jordan Davis, 10'3". And he's... Actually, what did Devontae Wyatt weigh in at? Because he's another probably first-round guy that I've seen mocked to the Chargers a little bit. He weighed in at 304. 304. Add 40 pounds to him, Jordan Davis. A foot farther. Absurd. Travis Jones, still a guy I like on day 2. Marvin Leal, 8'10". 3-cone, still pretty important for D-tackle. 7'3", honestly, not a bad time. Neil Farrell, bro, why did you fucking run these drills? 8'4'1". Brother, what are you doing? He is just in the low percentiles for athleticism. And I don't think anybody would have come into the combine expecting that much out of him. But that's low. Travis Jones, 7'3", that's a pretty good time for him, though. Short shuttle, nothing really sticks out. None of these times are that great. Travis Jones, 4'5'8", that's not bad. The Marvin Leal, still, honestly, I guess for short shuttle, 4'9" is not that bad. Linebacker, this is a pretty good linebacking class. Linebacker backing class. Troy Anderson, guy out of Montana State. I don't know if I've talked about him at all on this channel. But his film, if you guys haven't heard about him, Montana State, he was a quarterback possibly, or I guess now 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Quarterback, I don't even know what division they're in. And then he moved to running back, and then this last year he moved to linebacker. But you can see the IQ on tape. You can see the athleticism on tape. And even this last year, they still used him as a running back. I think he could be... Dude, I am intrigued by Troy Anderson. Let's see what his measurables were. Average backup or special teamer. So 6'3.5", 241. That's very prototypical good linebacking size. 32 1/8 inch arms. That's okay. But 4.42 40-yard dash, that's cooking for a linebacker. That's pretty good. 36-inch for 10.8 broad. Troy Anderson is a guy I am very much intrigued in on late day 2, early day 3. I think if we don't re-sign Kaiser White, I don't know what my confidence level would be in him being a starting linebacker. If he was our third guy, ahead of like Kenneth Murray being our fourth, hopefully. If he was our third guy, I would feel great about it, just because within like a year or 2 of being in the system, I think he's going to pick up things quick. Really, no matter where he goes, but for the Chargers specifically, within like by his second year, then I would probably feel okay about him starting, just because the linebacker position is so difficult in the NFL, and you just get abused like regularly. That's offensive schemes are just designed to screw linebackers, because I mean, read options, you have to play in the box, but also guard tight ends and running backs. You have to take on blocks from guards and tackles who are just flying at you, and then the next play, maybe even the same play, you have to guard a tight end. You have to fucking guard Travis Kelce in space. Christian Harris, 4.44, that's a good time. Channing Tyndall is another guy who, these Georgia guys, literally, these Georgia guys, edge, D-tackle, linebacker, their front seven was absurd last year. Channing Tyndall, you guys are going to see throughout the rest of these measurements, very, very good. Quay Walker was a little bit behind him in everything. Leo Chanel, another guy that I really like. He's probably Round 2 guy, though. Big downhill guy. I don't know what his capabilities would be in coverage. I didn't see a lot of it on tape. He looked capable, but he was just a heat-seeking missile. But in a better way than Kenneth Murray. I would need to just explain that better, but he's not Kenneth Murray. He's better, hopefully. Brian Asamoah, definitely a faller after the combine. I thought that he was going to be more similar to a Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, JOK from last year, because they're a similar size, but did not test that well at all. In being that size and not being a plus athlete, or preferably an elite athlete, obviously, is going to be trouble in the NFL just because playing in the box, you got to have some way to win. You don't have to be able to win every way like Micah Parsons. He can win with strength or speed or just agility. Dude's a freak. But Brian Asamoah, if you're not like 240 rocked up, or at least have the technique to take on blocks and shed blocks, like head on, meet them at that point. If you're 220, 225, you're probably not going to want to do that. You got to be able to have some sort of bend, speed to get around them, or just moves to avoid that. And throughout this, you'll see Brian Asamoah it doesn't look like he has those elite other traits to make up for his size like JOK did. So there might be some concerns about Brian Asamoah. Damone Clark, his size 4.57 is not bad. Chad Muma, I like 4.64. Devin Lloyd 4.66. He's pretty big. I was expecting 4.66. Devin Lloyd, I was expecting in the 4.5s. 4.66 isn't that disappointing though. He's a very, very good linebacker, and I would still be. I guess I wouldn't be that surprised if he was there at the Chargers pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't there. That I sound like a retard, but you guys get the point. Bench press, Chad Muma at 27. That's pretty solid. Devin Lloyd, 25 reps. Not many guys did this. Vertical, Channing Tyndall, 42-inch vertical. That's absurd. Leo Chanel, 40.5. Absurd. Chad Muma. There are some just explosive ass linebackers. Brian Asamoah, 36.5. Damone Clark, add 20 pounds to Brian Asamoah, jump the same. Troy Anderson, 36. Cancel me, but he's white. 36, not bad for him. Devin Lloyd, 35 for his size. 35, not bad. Christian Harris, honestly, I was expecting a little bit more. And then Quay Walker, other Georgia linebacker, not great. Broad jump, pretty important for linebackers. Chad Muma, 10.9, that's pretty good. 11 for Christian Harris. Channing Tyndall, 10.9. Troy Anderson, 10.8. Leo Chanel. So really I guess this isn't top group because it doesn't have Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd. But that second tier of linebackers, there are some explosive athletes in this tier with Chanel, Tyndall, Muma, Troy Anderson, Christian Harris. Damone Clark, 10.7, that's a pretty good distance. Devin Lloyd. Brian Asamoah, again, I just want to see him up there with that other group that I was talking about. 3-cone, mildly important for linebackers. These are pretty good times overall, other than for Darian. But Damone Clark 712, Chad Muma 706. Those are pretty good times for linebackers. 20-yard shuttle. Not bad. Chad Muma 428. Into the corners. This is going to be probably the longest video I've ever made, guys. If you're still with me, I love you. Leave a comment that you're here at like over an hour into the video. 40-yard dash times. There were some dudes who flew. Have not watched an ounce of tape on Treylon Burks, but I might just for shits, because seeing a guy who can run 4.23 is fun. Tariq Woolen 4.26. I did not know that this dude was this fast until we got closer to the combine and people were talking about he might break the record for 4.22 John Ross, and I was off put. Tariq Woolen, a man of that size, running 4.26. That's impressive. Other guys to highlight, Kairi Alam, 4.39. That is a very, very good time for him. Pure press man corner. Very physical. Running 4.39. He's going to be a riser. Probably a first round lock now. First round lock, not mock. Sauce Gardner, 4.41. Great time for him. Trent Mcduffie, 4.44. I guess I came in probably thinking, honestly, I was probably thinking high 4.3s. Most people were probably more accurate and were thinking mid 4.4s. And I haven't seen some of these other, like I don't think I've seen vertical for these guys yet. So hopefully Trent McDuffie and Kyler Gordon test off the charts for those. But 4.44, not a concern, but not a trait to hang your hat on if you are Trent McDuffie. A Caleb Evans, a guy that I am higher on than most and whose tape stuck out to me a little bit, 4.46. That's a good time for him. Roger Mccreery, 4.5. Just in that tier of guys that I wouldn't feel comfortable being a starting corner for us day one. Same with Kyler Gordon. I think his official time looks like it did drop, 4.52. Less of a concern. I want to say before it was like 4.59 or something, which would have just been slightly more concerning. Kobe Bryant, 4.54. Like, speed isn't a huge issue with most of these guys who did test. I wish that, and I don't know if Andrew Booth is. He might have pulled a hammy or something. I think I heard something about that. But I did really want to see what Andrew Booth would have tested. Kobe Bryant's only. Wait, is Demarion Williams isn't. What's that dude's name? It's Marcus Jones Jr. That's the guy I'm thinking of from Houston. Vertical. Oh, I have seen these actually. I forgot about this because Tariq Woolen, fucking 42-inch vertical. This dude's a freak. Freak athlete. A Caleb Evans, 36-inch vertical, man. A Caleb Evans and Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker can't be one of my guys because everybody's like about the same as me. He was built on lab, and he's going to go in the first round. I'm not putting out anything special there, but I don't think I've seen these numbers yet. A Caleb Evans, 10.9 broad. Let's go. Becoming one of my guys. Really nobody else of note even did the broad jump. 3-cone. They have to just be doing this right now. Yeah. What? I guess not. Wow. Only one guy did these. I mean, 648 though. Brother, Zion Mccollum. Good for you for doing the 3-cone because that is a fire time. Sub 4-second short shuttle. Another pretty good time for Zion Mccollum. Honestly, he was at the top of a lot of those lists. I might go back. See, for my viewpoint on the combine, it should just be a like check marks the box event. You should have an idea. You should know, have a gauge on these guys' athleticism going into the combine. It's where you're wrong and need to reevaluate, go back and watch the tape to see possibly what you missed that was there and you just didn't see. Or sometimes you might, like they might test off the charts and you go back and you're like, I still don't really see it. Then you can decide which one to trust. Most of the time I would trust the tape. If a guy tests slower than you thought, you can still go back, rewatch the tape, see if he just wasn't separating, didn't have as much juice as you thought, or sometimes he might, and you still just, is that what I just fucking said? Or did I say the other one? I don't know. Or you could have a guy like here, Treylon Burks, who just for shits might watch his highlights because 4.23 is flying. And okay, yeah, dude. Zion Mccollum. Sam Houston State. I'm going to watch your tape just because dude tested out very, very, very well in just about everything. 6'2", 200, kind of short arms. But 4.33, 39.5 inch vert, 132 broad. Dude, this dude's a very, very, very good athlete. Name to note. If you're still here with me watching an hour in, we might have some exciting tape to flip on. Some pretty good safety 40 times. I haven't watched a lot of these guys just because Chargers, I don't know how I feel about picking a safety, especially within the first couple of rounds. Lewis Cine, I did go back and watch some of his tape today. 4.37 is a very good, very, very good time, especially for safety. Daxton Hill, his official time, way better than his unofficial time because I remember, I want to say it was high 4.4s, his unofficial, and I was just like, this dude looks so fucking explosive on tape. There's no way, like, even if he's high 4.4s for his 40, this dude's jumps just have to be off the charts then, because something about him, he just has so much in his lower half. Pause. I was like, even his 10-yard split, it just has to be insane or something. But 4.38 does match the tape a little bit better. He did look like a pretty good athlete. Jaquan Brisker, 4.49, pretty good. Kyle Hamilton, 4.59. Not going to fall down at anybody's draft boards. But 4.59, I was expecting a little bit better. Bench, kind of, sort of, who gives a fuck? Jaquan Brisker, 22, not bad. Kirby Joseph, 18. Jalen Petrie, 16. Vertical, Kyle Hamilton, 30, yeah, it's pretty good. Lewis Cine, 36.5. Jalen Petrie, 35. Jaquan Brisker, 34.5. Daxton Hill, I was expecting more than 33.5. Daxton Hill, I was honestly expecting over 36. Tell me, yeah, dude, Daxton Hill, down here again in the broad jump. I don't know. But this is why I went back and watched Lewis Scene's tape. 11-1 broad. Kyle Hamilton, there you go, 10-11 broad. The freaky athlete had to come out at some point in the testing process. Jaquan Brisker, 10-4. Daxton Hill, 10-1. I don't know. There we go, dude. 6.57. Holy shit. Daxton Hill, 3-cone drill. Damn. Jalen Petrie, too, 6.74. Kyle Hamilton, sub-7 at his size. That's pretty solid. But 6.57. Brother. 3-cone doesn't mean... I guess for safety, it would mean a little bit. But that is extremely impressive. And then you want to be below 3 seconds, but to be like very elite. But 4.06, that's still a really good time. And I like seeing Daxton Hill and Jalen Petrie at the top of this list just because they are probably the most likely players to go or change into the slot primarily, which already is kind of what they did in college. But they're still being labeled as safeties, which I guess I agree with. But for the purposes of the Chargers, they would more so be closer to a corner. I would be okay with them being in the slot. And then Matt Ariza, 4.68, dude was fucking flying. No, I don't really give a fuck about most of these. Cade York, LSU, Chargers fans, we want him in the 6th or 7th. This dude, similar, he's the Joe Burrow of kickers, man. I never had a doubt when Cade York walked out on that field that he was going to fucking drill it. I didn't care where we were on the field. Watching this dude in warm-ups, drilling 60-yarders. I've caught some of his kicks. Pre-game warm-ups, they don't have the little nuts up, so you can catch it, throw it back on the field. Fanboying a little bit. But Matt Ariza, I was expecting more. 10-1, that's pretty good. Look at this long snapper putting in the work. Let's go. Cal Adamitis out of Pitt. Oh, dude, if you would have done the long shuttle, that would have been very funny. So, closing thoughts. Defensive side of the ball is a strength for this class. But the overall philosophy for the Chargers, I guess my overall philosophy hasn't changed, nor will it. It would be very stupid of me to change my offseason philosophy based off the combine, but free agency is for filling needs. You do not want to go into the draft with major needs on your team. If you're dog shit, like the Houston Texans, it's okay. You're not going to be good next year. You have no hope. It's okay to go into the draft with needs. But a team actually trying to compete for a Super Bowl next year, like our LA Chargers, you don't want to go into the draft with needs. You want to go into the draft not locked into a guy, not locked into a position, so that if somebody who is better at a more valuable position, who is higher up, much higher up on the overall consensus board, where you can get cheaper at a valuable position, that is what you want. Going into the draft with, man, we really don't have like any starting safeties, but we're at pick like 15. Shit, we gotta take Jaquan Brisker. We gotta take Lewis Scene. Just like, we literally don't have anybody there, and these guys could probably be starters. That's what you don't want. Chargers, a little bit different of a case. A Kyle Hamilton or Derwin James slipped to us at 17. and also like Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James, different like positionless, but also provide more value than their position. Jaquan Brisker, Lewis Cine wouldn't. That's also just an example. This video is long as shit. If you're still here and you're not a subscriber, you must just fucking love football. I love football too. I'm about to graduate from LSU with a degree in biology and nutrition, and I am not applying for any jobs that have anything to do with that yet. I'm applying for football analyst jobs with LSU around town, wherever I can get it. I started a channel just because I love football, man. If you made it this long, you should subscribe. Yes, I mostly focus on Charger stuff, but especially around draft time, off season, lots of draft coverage. I try and put out as many videos as I can. Once I graduate, like next year, assuming I don't have a ass job and I'm just fucking working 24/7, which hopefully I'm not. I should have more free time and be able to grind out way more videos, possibly make a big board. Hopefully by then I have a little bit more subscribers, so I don't know, we can grow and get some of this information out there, just because there are some Chargers YouTubers who don't have the greatest takes, the greatest opinions, and when they put stuff out there, they have sway a little bit over the general Chargers fan base. So if somebody's pounding the table for, I was about to say Jordan Davis, but possibly changed my mind a little bit. If somebody's pounding the table for Treylon Burks at 17, a Chargers YouTuber, just, we need Treylon Burks at 17. If he's there, we need to take him. He's my number one wide receiver. Wide receiver in general, not a low position of value, but flip on the tape, man. Look at these numbers. What do you see? I don't know. That's just one example. If a guy is preaching, we need Kenneth Walker, we need to trade for Saquon fucking Barkley. Bro, what? It's a fucking running back. We can consistently get very, very good running backs. Okay, not consistently. It's easy to get running backs in the late rounds and undrafted. Very, very, very proven method. Look at the numbers. You also don't even need to. Austin Eckler, undrafted. Very realistic to do it for the running back position. Other positions, not so much. Like quarterback, most important position, you're going to want your starting quarterback in the first round. If you think that he is your starting quarterback, he's probably going to go in the first round. Running backs, not so much. If there's a Chargers YouTuber who's, we need to take a running back day 1 or day 2, no, we don't. That is how you fucking bury your franchise within years, and how you very quickly have expensive contracts at not important positions. And when you're paying, like, don't even fucking let me get into it, man. I don't know. We need to get cheaper at the important positions through the draft talent, draft value. That's my shtick. Subscribe, comment, like the video. Almost an hour and a half in. Let's even see if this video can upload. I will see you guys my next, or like 2 weeks, 14th through 18th is my spring break. Probably going to some baseball games. That's when NFL free agency starts though, so I should be spitting out, hopefully, a bunch of fucking videos, because I'll have more free time and I like doing this. But I will see you guys in the next video.